Hi everyone, I'm Akshat, and in today's video we're going to cover everything that is regarding Claude Code, which is going to be a complete tutorial to get started on actually building with Claude Code. We're going to cover how to install this, again what are the features of Claude, and also understand how to add some basic instructions and build our first app. Now the first step that you want to do is actually get a code editor which is called Visual Studio Code. It's one of the most popular ones and that's why we are going to use it. It's really good and we can get started with Claude Code much faster here rather than doing anything else. So very simply, you have to download this, and again you can download for Windows or Mac, whichever platform you are on. And again, please, I'm going to explain you everything, so just hold on. Right, again, this is mostly like, you can think of it as it allows you to edit file which are specific to code. Right, again, it kind of works like that. So if you are here, the first thing that you want to do to install Claude Code is actually click on extensions. You can see this beautiful, like, again, plugin box created here. Right, again, we're going to click there and search for, and we're going to search for Claude Code. So we'll search for Claude Code and you will see there are multiple options. We want something specifically like this, Claude Code for VS Code, and you will have to click on install. As you can see, it already shows me an uninstall button because it's installed on my PC, but all you need to do, come here and click install. Now once you've installed Claude Code, you will get the first option is to actually log in into your Claude AI subscription. So that means once you click it, just click on open, and it will take you back to the browser where you will technically have to log in into your Claude AI. So as you can see, I'm already logged in and authorize this. There is another option that you can use your API keys and everything else. I would not suggest that. Just start with the $20 plan on Claude because that is the best way to get started. And yes, there is no free version at this moment right now to get started with Claude Code. You need to pay something, either it's API or something else. So we have finally installed Visual Studio Code. We have installed Claude Code and we have also logged in and we are ready to get started. Now I'm just going to show you one small thing. Again, this is just for you to know that when you see screenshots of this and people are like, this is my Claude Code and your Claude Code looks different, this is what you are showing. So when you put install Claude Code, you also can technically use Claude in terminal. Like again, in this black screen, you can use Claude and go ahead and do whatever you want from there. Now there is no point of using it here. Again, you can pretty much do most of the things in Visual Studio Code, but we will come back to here for some advanced techniques that we'll learn in the next videos. But for now, you're pretty good. Just I wanted to show you this so that you understand that you can install Claude Code in a terminal also, and the steps to do that will be in the description. But for now, let's exit this and come back to our Visual Studio Code. Okay, so let me walk you through a couple of features that you need to understand on how VS Code works. The first thing is that you need to open a folder, right? Again, you can see there is a very simple option to open a folder. So for our purposes, I've already created a folder, which is all part of my development. It's just simply creating a folder. I have a new folder, which is completely blank, and I'm going to select this. Once I select this, it loads up all the files that are present in that folder. And as you know, there are no files right now. This is what we call Explorer, or like the file Explorer simply. So if I click here and say test.txt, if I just create a simple text file and I say here is a test file, you can see files get stored here. So I can click on the file and it will open up here. I can also close the file, come back here, click on, and this will open up on the front screen. So I have all my files on the right hand side, and I can create new folders also here. I can create new files here, and I can do everything within this folder. Just to show you that all the files that you create here are also obviously getting created on your PC, and you can see them here. So test.txt, it's the same folder that's just opened here. We have our files here. We have a couple of other options where you can open folder, open a separate file, and create a new window, simply stuff like that. But that's pretty much it that you need to know to get started with VS Code. Everything else we will move along and teach you as I go forward with it. So just to bring you back, again, we have installed Claude Code, and now let's look at all the features that Claude actually offers us to create amazing software. Perfect. We are ready to get started with Claude, and you can see very simply on the left hand side, I want to show you a couple of features of Claude Code. Now, the one that we want and actually care about is the plan mode, and you can click on this to switch between different modes, but the one that we need to start with is plan mode. And the reason that we want to start with the plan mode is because Claude works in a very specific format, and the format looks something like this. We input our prompt, Claude automatically gathers information from our code base, takes some actions, checks what it did, and then give a confirmation if it is done, complete the task. And at the same time, we keep giving it instructions to ensure how the task needs to be executed, to make sure the process is well defined. So the best place to get started is, because it needs context, is to start by planning with what you want to do. For this particular demo, I actually want to get started with Claude to build a wealth management product. And very simply, wealth management is where everyone can put in all their accounts, all their stock market details, and can see their net worth, and also help AI to analyze that. So it can give you options on, like, if you should invest your wealth somewhere else, or if you want to sell some things in case something is not working out. So that's the goal of the product. But for that, I want actually for AI to create me a product requirement documentation which has all of these things, right? So I'm giving it a very simple prompt. I want a PRD documentation for a wealth management app where users can input and connect their accounts, and AI can help them navigate their wealth. With that, I'm just going to press enter, and I can also say create a new PRD file, which is going to be simply a markdown file that it's going to create. And with that, we have just given Claude all the access to get started with it. So first, as you can see, it is going and searching, is there anything that already exists? And as you can see, there is not, right? And the next step is going to be very simply to go ahead and start creating that particular file. I can zoom out a bit so that you guys can see this better. And don't get confused by product requirement documentation. Just think of it as a list of things that we want in the product. That's pretty much. As you can see, while working, Claude has also given us some questions, and these questions come up in a super easy to select way. So I can say, okay, what stage is this wealth management app? I'm just going to say early concept and or pre-development. What is the primary target? I want people, like, again, who are, like, individual investors who, like, again, want, like, some help. AI detail. I want, like, specific, like, again, like high level capabilities, and we just want, like, again, feature specs and requirements. Now again, this is very great because it also tells you what every one of these things mean, and you can just select what you want. And this is the most one of those features which I love about Claude Code, that it is not always just going ahead and executing what you want. If it needs clarification questions, even without me telling that you need to give me clarification questions, it has automatically started creating them. As you can see, it has created a plan for me, and it has asked me, do you want to accept the plan? Right now, again, it's a test, so I'm just going to select yes and accept. So it is going to create the file and actually store my PRD with everything that is required. Now, given that this is happening, I actually don't need to wait for this to complete. I can start another session with Claude Code. So if you see here, I have some sessions, and what I can do is click on this plus icon here. You can just zoom in, a plus icon here, and start another session. This does not mean that the previous conversation has ended. If you can see, it is still going on. You can still see it is doing its job. I can come here into this new session and ask it to do something else. For example, I can ask it to create like a design documentation. I can ask it to create a design file. So I can simply say, create me a color palette specification for a wealth management app which is created for the top 1% of the country to manage their wealth, right? And store the file. I can just simply say that, and I'm going to switch before from edit automatically so that it can automatically do this, and I don't need this to be a plan. That means it can automatically go ahead and do what it needs to do. I'm just going to press enter, and it will start creating this also. Given that this is happening, I still don't need to wait here, right? Again, I can go ahead and start another session. And that's where you start seeing the power of Claude Code, that you are not waiting on it to complete it. You can just give it an assigned task and literally just go ahead and sip a cup of coffee and be happy with it. Till all of this is happening, I'm going to show you a couple of other features of Claude Code. So one is going to be very simply to switch between models. So if you see here, right, again, there are multiple models that exist. I am choosing Haiku just because, again, it's one of the fastest models, but also it's one of the cheapest models right now. Claude Code is 110% expensive. I know you're using the $20 plan, most of you, but it will eat up into that plan on a daily basis after probably again, 20 to 40 messages, right? So again, it depends on that. Just to increase that limit, because I've been testing it for quite some time, I'm going to switch it to Haiku. You can obviously use again, Claude Sonnet. You can use the Opus, the latest model, which is very expensive, right? But again, I would suggest just when you're testing it, when you're learning Claude Code, switch to Haiku. You will have much more chances of learning instead of just burning through tokens and getting rid of all your messages limit in a day. So that is one option. And in case you want to do that, you just click on this and search for switch model. So it's called a /, and you can select the option that you want. We also have other options that we'll keep looking at. One of them is thinking, which is you can obviously ask it to think more and do that. Again, it also eats up into your token usage. So I have switched it off just to make sure that, again, we can show you just to switch it. I've switched it off just because I don't want to burn through hundreds of dollars of tokens just while doing a demo. So yeah. But if you want me to do that, hit the subscribe button. I would really love it, and I can surely then burn out hundreds of dollars. Okay, with that, let's come back. As you can see, there are multiple other options which I'm going to cover across in the whole video series, and don't worry, I'm going to teach you all of it. Okay, so let's see, we have a new file ready, which is the wealth management color palette, and as you can see, this looks pretty amazing. Like, it has all the options of neutral palette. It has created different palettes for everything, and it has really included what was needed. So super happy, and I did not even have to wait for it, is the best part. Let's come to the next step, which is to go to wealth management app, and again, this is where it has created a product requirement documentation. Again, very simply, it has given me some features that it wants to add, some target market, and a success criteria for the application. Now this is all great, right? Again, 110%, but it is a massive file, and like, again, it has everything that I need probably from product requirement perspective, and again, we can trust it on right now. You can obviously go ahead and edit this. You can add some features. You can edit the file and give it more information or reduce information from there. Once we have all of this, and just one small quick tip, like your file might look like this, right? And mine looks like this, is not something. So I have a extension installed, Office Viewer, which allows me to see a markdown file instead of like this into a proper structured document. So you can install this, go to extensions, just search for Office Viewer and install it from there. Just a small tip, you don't need to do this. It's not necessary for Claude Code. Just so that while you're working, you're using a lot of markdown, it's easier to look into the files. Perfect. But now we have our wealth management app ready. We have our color palette ready. And now the next step is I want a dashboard. I want the first actually to see what is the first thing that the user will see, right? What does the dashboard for my platform look like? So let's actually build that. I'm going to start another new chart. And now because I wanted to actually build a file without asking me anything and create a mockup, you see here, I'm going to switch this to edit automatically. Okay. And in edit automatically, what I'm going to do is refer, and you're going to press the @ symbol and select wealth management app and add color palette. Use them to create a mockup of the dashboard for the wealth management platform. And this is the dashboard users will see when they log in. That's it, right? Again, we're going to keep it there, and let's see what it actually comes out to be. I've switched it to edit automatically because I don't want it to ask me any questions. I just wanted to create. The only thing that I'm going to mention is to just use HTML, CSS, and JS right now, just so that I just want a UI mockup. I don't want anything as, like, you can say, an app. I just wanted to create our dashboard so we can look into it and see how does it look, and then ask it to make changes to that. Perfect. So as you can see, it has created the final dashboard, and now I'm going to see it with you. So it has this file, and the way to view this file is right click on this and click on copy path. So click on copy path by right clicking, and once you're there, we'll come back and I can paste the dashboard, and it looks pretty good. Like, again, this is like, again, literally one short dashboard with, like, all the information. You can see it also has, like, pretty interactive with different options. I don't think it would have built everything. Yes, optimization, portfolio rebalancing, performance, and stocks and asset allocation. We can set a goal. I don't think there are any other pages. Obviously, this is a very high level mockup. I like it, right? Again, I like it, but I don't love it. Like, again, it's too much. It's too much in a single dashboard. I would have loved I like that, again, it's like, again, it's focused on obviously one thing in my screen, but as I scroll down, obviously there are other things that I can look into. And the reason I'm saying that is because, okay, it's a great, like, again, design, but also it looks like, it does not look like created for, like, again, the top 1%. Like, the icons are all, like, pretty childish, right? Again, I like it, but I don't love it. But I'm not a front-end designer. But the question is, can I give Claude Code something that can make it a front-end designer? Okay, so I'm going to show you something actually super cool, which Claude Code is the reason that, like, it's so outstanding here. and we are going to be talking about skills. So as you can see, Claude is not really good at designing, and neither am I. Like again, it's pretty decent at design, right? But I have not given it a decent prompt. Like I have been extremely bad at this, right? Again, so what we're going to do is we are going to give it a skill. We are going to give it Claude a skill of creating front end design. And you must be like, what is this whole skill thing Akshat is talking about? So right now, Claude has a lot of features, but Claude does not know how to design front end, like beautiful front ends, right? So it does not know how to do this. And because it does not know, it obviously is going to just create whatever the best version it can. So what we're going to do is we are going to give it very simply a skill on designing front end. We're going to give it a skill, very simply a specific set of instructions, right? But a couple of notches higher. So it's more than a prompt, and it actually works in a different way than you might think. So because Claude does not know how to design front end, I'm going to give it a skill of a front end engineer. I'm going to give it this skill to actually do that. And Claude can then use this skill whenever I ask it to design front end. You must be thinking that actually, why can't you just prompt it to make the dashboard better? I can, but my prompt won't be great. And plus all the same time, like again, I will always have to prompting it like, again, here is how to design this, here is how to design this and everything. That's not the job of Claude Code. That was like, again, AI in 2023. We are in 2026. Now we have specifically curated information that I can give to Claude all the time, and it can refer to that whenever it wants. Let me show you this as it. So first, now to understand skills, first thing that I'm going to do is actually show you to get a skill from the web. So this is website will be linked below in the description, where someone has already created a skill for a front end designing. And I can click on copy this command, right? Copy this command and bring it back to Claude. So I'm just going to say, come back here. And I've copied that command. I've come back here and I'm going to say, install this. I'm just going to ask it to install this. It's going to now install a skill within again. And I'm going to say yes. And it's going to install the skill. And it's going to install a front-end design skill that it can use to create front-end designs. And until that is happening, I'm just going to show you again, what does this skill include? It's technically a set of instructions. Like this is pretty much it. This is what we have just asked it to install. It's just a set of instructions that Claude now can access whenever it wants. Like that's pretty much it. It can access that whenever it wants. It does not need me to tell it when to access that. It does not need me to prompt it when to access it. It knows that if I wanted to design front end, it can use this particular skill. Perfect. Now you can see very simply, it has created a new folder here, right? Again, a completely new folder here, which is Claude. And in that we have skill.md, which is a file that includes all the information that Claude needs to actually access to create a front-end design properly. With that, let's actually test this. You must be like, Akshat, okay, so you added a prompt. How does this matter, right? Well, it does matter. And I'm going to start very simply a new chart and say, create a new dashboard for our product. And I'm again going to render PRD, right? And add wealth management, color palette. That's it. Create a new dashboard front end for our product. As soon as I enter that, it will show up and technically start using the skill. And you can see here, it has written front end design skill. It has now started using a specific skill to actually create the front end. So it's going to use a specific set of instructions all the time whenever I ask it to create now a front end design. And the reason this is important is because this is one of the coolest features that Claude offers you, where you can have set of instructions and a set of things that it has superpowers. It has a front end superpower now, and it has a superpower to now do again maybe create backend or create APIs or create automations. You can think about anything. And I'm going to show you how to actually create your own skill also. Okay, so first, before we go there, let's actually see what does this skill, how this skill is super different. And you can see this is the actual difference between what was created as this, again, pretty standard dashboard, to an actually something that looks high quality. You can see this front end and you know that this was this is 10 times better. Like just like again, the quality of it, like the fonts used and everything else is so much better. Obviously the chart is not created because it did it pretty quickly, but you have like all the connected accounts and you have less information because this is just a dashboard that has everything like again in one place just thrown away. This is the dashboard that you would actually want to create in a product, and that's how skills give you superpower, give superpower to Claude to actually create things. And now I'm going to show you how to create our own skill. Now the first thing that you need to remember, which is something that is super confusing, is that skills live in folders. Let me show you what I mean by that by like again going to File Explorer. So very simply, you are here, right, again, and we have all our files here. But within .Claude, the way skills appear is in a folder, and the folder name is the name of the skill. So the name of the folder is the same name as the skill. So if you see here, we have front-end design, and we also have the skill name as front-end design. Within this is actually the instructions of the skill. So that is why it becomes a bit confusing. You have a skills folder within which you have the name of the skill as folders, and within those folders we have skills. We have their, and within those folders we have their instructions. I hope that makes sense. In case you're confused, let me explain you by creating a new skill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to name it Organize Files. This is going to be my skill name. This is the skill name that I want Claude to have access to. So I'm going to go ahead, create Organize Files, and in here I'm going to now create a new file. The name of this file will very simply be skill.md, skill.md, and you need to make sure that it is actually MD, which is markdown. So you will go do this, create that, and you have now a file called skill.md. Now, given that we have this file, we can now start editing it and give instructions on how organized files should work. We come here, we click on Organize Files and click on skill.md. Obviously, right now it's a completely empty file. And Claude has a specific way of writing skill files. And let me show you that. To get started by writing the skill, the first thing you need to understand that there is a specific format. And the format is pretty simple, but there is one. The first thing you need to write is 3 dashes or 3 hyphens 2 times. So you will have 3 hyphens on line 1 and line 3. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see a bit more clearly. To close Claude Code for now, so we just focus on creating a skill. Here, the first thing that you want to write is the name of the skill. And again, yes, you need to still again write the name of the skill because that's just the way Claude Code works right now. So the name of the skill very simply here is going to be Organize Files. So I'm just going to write Organize Files. The second thing that you need to write is the description. This is the only way for Claude to actually know when to use the skill. Okay, so if you don't write a proper description, sometimes the skill might be used, sometimes the skill might not be used. For the description, I simply want to say use this at the end of every file creation and ensure to organize files properly. If you see right now, I hate what Claude has done here. Like again, literally, like this is one thing that boils my blood. Like it did not create a folder. It could have created a dashboard folder and stored all the files there, but it did not do that. It did not create a folder for product requirement documentation also. So I'm going to give it specific instructions on how to do this. So I'm going to write when a new file is created, do the following. The first step is very simply going to be, I'm going to write very simply, ensure to see that the file is located in a folder corresponding to its requirements, right? Very simply, again, if a file is created, it should be stored in a proper folder. If the folder does not exist, ensure to create one. Example of front-end design, files should be under the name of the component that they're creating. And third, very simply again, ensure to always see that files are properly stored with proper names in their specific folders. Simple enough instructions. Again, that's all I want to do right now, and that's the whole idea. I want to just give you a simple example on how can you create a simple skill. You need the name, you need the description, you need what does this, how should this skill perform, and we have that, and then we give it how should this skill actually work on. In step 1, 2, 3, that helps it making sure that it's very clear on what needs to be done. I'm going to save this file and very simply close this. Now we're going to bring ourselves back to Claude Code, and I'm going to do 2 steps. First, I want to ask Claude, tell me which skills are available. Which skills do you have access to? And I'm going to ask it, and it will give me the options or understanding like again. And as you can see, it has access to explaining code, it has access to front-end design, it has access to organize files. I also created some skills before, so ignore that. But like again, these are the skills that it has actually access to: front-end design and organize files. Ask and get a skill right there. I can trigger a skill by just putting its name. So I'm just going to say organize. Now it is giving me some options on how I can actually again trigger a skill. But for that, I am not going to do so much effort. I'm just going to say ensure to organize all files in the folder. I'm just going to say ensure to organize all files in our project. Now, based on this, it should technically, and it did use organize files as a skill. And you can see it has used everything that is there. And now it's going to organize everything in a proper structured way. And you can see here, it's going to create files. I'm going to allow, and I'm just going to allow everything so that it is now going to go ahead and actually organize these files. And you will start seeing on the right hand side, it will create and store them in proper folder structures. So as you can see, it is reading all the files. It is reading again the name of those files and then store them in a proper format. And that's how we need to utilize and again understand skills give Claude superpowers, and you can use these superpowers anytime that you want. And now it's going to go ahead and finally do that. And you can use skills in multiple different ways. You can also create your own skills like the way we just did. And also, you can go to places like this where you have other skills created by people. The link to this website will be in the description, but you can see that there are so many different skills. And obviously there is a skill creator, which you can technically use as a skill to create new skills. So you go in a complete loop, but we'll cover that later. As you can see, we already have our file structure properly created. We have organized files, we have the source, we have components where we have the dashboard, we have the documentation, we have styles file, and everything that we need. And this is the beauty. Again, I created a single skill which I can use anytime now to organize my folder structure without thinking about it. This is just super cool. I can give it access to my whole library and also ask it to organize my whole downloads folder and everything else. I would love that. I'm actually going to do that right after. The next video is going to blow your mind. We're going to cover more advanced features and also talk about agents within Claude Code. So with that, I would love to see you in the next one. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell icon so that you get the notification right as when I drop the videos there. Till then, I'll see you in the next one.